So, good evening and good morning. Very happy to start a new, fresh session. Nothing new about it, though. It's just, readings and reflections. And so blessed to have so many things to reflect on, so many things that bring beauty in our lives in such and touch such depths that however much gratitude we express won't be suffice. And in truth, nobody is looking for gratitude, right? They're just wanting us to understand, wanting us to practice, wanting us to become. So, as we begin this new session, aspiring that may I have the grace and the courage and the strength and the will to become what I read. May these words not be mere words and just, let stop at the level of entertainment, excitement, amusement. They mean more. May they mean more to me. Without practice, these words don't have any power. May I get the will, the receptivity, the grace to walk these words. Otherwise, any reading, any session won't take me anywhere. So let me go somewhere where I need to be or not. So just aspiring for the best, that is my possibility. And again, thanking this group, this Sangha, for this companionship to walk together for as long as we need to walk together. So just taking last few seconds to just ingather our consciousness, become fully present, mostly with the help of the breath. So just focusing on the in and out. Invoking Mother and Sri Aurobindo's grace and presence as we begin this new series, this new session, this new adventure. Thank you. So, what I have very briefly and with full flexibility thought is that, like it's a 1 hour session. That's what usually the duration is. We'll try to keep it under 1 hour. And as we know, all the sessions are flexible, right? You can come in late, you can leave early. There is no disrespect, there is no formality. So just reiterating that, please feel free as it's like if you can come even for 10 minutes, just come, share, listen, participate or not, and feel free to leave anytime. There is nothing there. So I was thinking that maybe for the first 30 minutes, roughly speaking, we'll take sharings. So basically, we all have our own individual readings and we cannot read everything. So anything that we have read in a personal reading from any master, mystic, any any elder which struck us, right? Which felt that, oh, this is beautiful. So maybe sharing that, if we have anything that we can share on screen, we can do that and stuff. So we'll reflect on it. If there's any question, we can try to answer it together. So nobody knows anything. Nobody's claiming to know anything. It's just a joint exploration. And for the last half, I felt that maybe we can take up something, steady from one of the books. So I had mentioned that maybe we'll start with Renunciation, the chapter from Synthesis of Yoga. I just read it recently and it was very beautiful. So just to add and expand on that beauty, so we'll be taking that up. So having said that, if there's any questions, any comments, please unmute any time. And if anybody has got any sharing that they would like to share with us, please unmute and we can start.
I can share something.
Thank you, Juan, please.
I have been translating some books lately to Spanish from disciples, and I was working in the translation of a book, which is a sort of long interview with Satpan, one disciple of the mother, the one who made the agenda. And it's very poetic. He had a really interesting life, very wild in some way. And I wanted to share something somehow poetic about, uh, which is in the beginning of the book. Do you hear me okay?
Yes, would you like to screen share? Should I give you the screen sharing option?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Is it allowing you to screen share automatically? It's not giving me an option. Just try.
Let's see. Yes. Of course, this. No, no, it seems I cannot.
It said you can't. Okay.
Yes, this host disabled participant screen share.
Okay, I made you the host. Now see,
Okay, now I can. Is it visible now?
it's not loaded for me. Yes, yes, a childhood. Yes, now we can see.
Okay.
Please.
When his only the first paragraph it says, when a child opens his eyes, he's always like the first human being in the world, and he says to himself, "What?" Without any words, of course. He is a question. Man was a question. We thought we had to provide mental, intellectual answers to that question, but even after we provide all the answers, they still will not fulfill. I cannot see this here. Not fulfill anything. Sorry, not
I
fulfill
can read,
anything.
I can see. Do you want me to read?
No, now I see.
Okay.
Well, the question is about being. As far back as I can remember, I see a child on the seashore gazing out. Gazing at what? I don't know, but gazing. His gaze is already a question, and our whole life is made of that very same thing which was there at the beginning, when we were looking at the little wave on the beach. It's that same yearning towards something, and there comes a moment in life when that yearning is satisfied. I really liked that.
Yeah, I loved how it said, that the child is the question, and it said, his being born is the question, and it technically should raise so many questions, right? Where, how, what, and
Yeah, and a question that it's isn't really you cannot provide any intellectual answer to that, and the question itself is not possible to formulate, really. And I find it poetic, like his whole life was somehow that search for something that is maybe what we are all looking for, like something that we cannot even express really, but a yearning for the divine. I say. So I wanted to share that.
thank you. And how the parents, when a child is born, they say congratulations to the proud parents, and how their chests are all, like fully, especially the guys, because the girl is usually in bed, and how it feels like a personal accomplishment. That see, I created this. So it's so funny if we look at it from this angle, that what all, and this is not about just giving birth to a child, right? All my accomplishments, or the things that I have, say a healthy mind, for example, a healthy body, I say, this is my doing. This is my doing. And that's such a little joke in itself. And yet, if we are here, we are here. But there's always a way forward. Yeah, inviting any reflections. Juan, could you bring that up again, the first part? Scrolling up, please, if anybody
Yes.
wants to.
Sorry. Uh,
Yeah, perfect.
he says that he he was always in a boat, the sea, and he felt so free, so unlimited when he was at the sea. But then he came back to the earth and the school and the human world, and he felt so constrained. So
Yeah,
like he was always looking for that kind of uh, feeling of unity and limitless that he felt at the sea.
yes. Thank you, Juan. That was a beautiful beginning. The what. Yeah. So, anyone else would like to share anything, any reflections at this point?
No, the buildings you look in the capital cities, you go.
If there's nothing, I thought there would be more sharing, so I didn't. I mean, I have the God's labor open. We can go through that poem no matter how many times we go through it, or we can just start with Renunciation. Any preferences? Charuji, would you like to unmute? I don't know what you said something, but I didn't.
The poem will go through, then we'll go to renunciation.
First, we should do the poem.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Juan, you'll have to make me the host now. It's not letting me screen share.
How do I do that?
So you go to participants. Do you see the list?
Yeah, no.
Okay, I think I can
Participant.
reclaim it. Yeah, I got
Yeah,
it back. Thank you. All good.
it's okay now.
Yeah, I'm good. So I'm assuming we can see my screen now. So it's a very beautiful poem, a bit long, but each paragraph, it's like so much joy. If anybody would like to read a part of or the whole of it for us, we can do it. Otherwise, I'll go.
I'll read, Taru.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please
I
go
have,
slowly so that we can all absorb it.
yeah. I have gathered my dreams in a silver air. Can you all hear me? I have gathered my dreams in a silver air between the gold and the blue, and wrapped them softly and left them there, my jeweled dreams of you. I'll read one more time. I have gathered my dreams in a silver air between the gold and the blue, and wrapped them softly and left them there, my jeweled dreams of you. I had hoped to build a rainbow bridge, marrying the soil to the sky, and sow in this dancing planet midst the moods of infinity. I had hoped to build a rainbow bridge, marrying the soil to the sky, and the soul in this dancing planet midst the moods of infinity. But too bright were our heavens, too far away, too frail their ethereal stuff, too splendid and sudden our light could not stay. The roots were not deep enough. but too bright. Sorry, Taru, can you? Yeah, but thank you. But too bright were our heavens, too far away, too frail their ethereal stuff, too splendid and sudden our light could not stay. The roots were not deep enough. I'll continue one more paragraph. Or anybody else want to?
Yeah, anybody else would like to read? Or we can stop here and we can maybe reflect because it's a very
Yeah.
long poem. And we have taken the first three, right? First three
Yeah.
passages, the roots were not deep enough. So, Sadhji, would you like to reflect on it a little bit?
No, Taru, I don't.
Okay. So I think I'll just say what comes to me. So basically, I know all the colors, they signify something. Silver means something, gold is the color of, I think, supramental descent, blue means something. I somehow never go into the details. But basically, what Sri Aurobindo, see, first of all, the name in itself is so beautiful, right? A God's labor. And it is said that, when this manifestation was made and how, there was this error and then it's coming in, how the consciousness is coming in steps or whatever word they use. So the gods had promised, that they would be there to help. And one of the biggest sacrifices they say is when the god comes on earth as an avatar to pull the consciousness forward a little bit more, a little bit more. So this is a god's labor, because somehow when we think about God, we think about, somebody sitting, I don't know, in the sky with, white clothes and shining beautifully and smiling. But of course, there would be so much that the gods are doing too. And so this is a beautiful window into what a god's labor is, to a god's labor. So here Sri Aurobindo is telling us about that labor, that I have gathered my dreams, because if it was my dream, say for example, me as I dream, I cannot even dream the extent of my possibility or my potential, right? So, I mean, there are things which would seem impossible for me. Like, say, for a seed, if you tell a seed that, you will become that tree, the seed would be like, are you crazy? Have you looked at my size? Have you looked at that tree? Like, absolutely impossible is what I would say if I was that seed, that no, this seems impossible. And yet, we know that seeds become huge or small trees. That in itself, what Juan was sharing, that child himself is a what, right? He himself is a question that how does this happen? But somehow in our cleverness, we have been told to ignore the questions we can't answer, right? So in the earlier times, it's very funny that in the earlier times, we would spend a lifetime looking for these answers, right? But now, because, life is too short and I have too many things to do. So if I spend my life on the answers which are difficult, how will I have fun? How will I have ambition? How will I have success? So in my cleverness, I have ignored these questions and I'm moving towards meaningless things, which superficially, of course, give me pleasure and happiness and a sense of accomplishment. But what is it really given me if I don't even know the basic questions and answers of my life? So, not depending on me, but Sri Aurobindo's dream. So I, Sri Aurobindo, have gathered his dreams in a silver air between the gold and the blue. Somehow it feels that there is this, where we are right now and where we need to be. So this gathering, this between the gold and the blue, and wrapped them softly and left them there, my jeweled dreams of you. The master in his compassion. Mostly everything is very soft, right? Like all our blows are also cushioned and all our slaps are also somehow, there is something in us which feel that no, this is good for me, this is good for me. There is no very hard push. We don't feel, like imagine if it was a very, very fast progress, like how stretched will I be pulled? How far will I be? How stretched will I feel that I don't want to be and I am? So he's saying, I've wrapped them softly and left them there, right? It will take time. It will take time. And I know, but I have left them there for you so that they will be fulfilled one day, someday. My jeweled dreams of you. So they are not ordinary dreams, right? The best dreams, the jeweled is basically a word which is like full of, which is precious, right? And I'm sure there would be so many more, I don't know, interpretations, but of course, with my limitation. So I had hoped to build a rainbow bridge, marrying the soil to the sky. So I feel this is what the integral yoga is all about, right? Because initially, if we look at the way we were taught, with the Vedas and Upanishads, basically, which was a popular way, was that shun the body, right? You are more. And that is why so many austerities and renunciations and this yoga, Hatha yoga and stuff in which you would just pain, take on so much pain and suffering, saying that the body doesn't matter. But he is not saying that, he doesn't say that. He wants to build a bridge, a rainbow bridge, marrying the soil to the sky, right? So that divinization of the soil, the rise of consciousness, the not rise, but basically, I guess the knowing, the how do you say that you now feel that there is consciousness also in the soil. So marrying the soil to the sky, so there is no shunning. And so in this dancing planet midst, the moods of infinity. So how the planets are dancing, right? Like one is going here, one is going there, and da da da. We don't know what's happening, and I'm sure there would be more. But in this dancing, he has sowed the moods of infinity that there is more. There is more, and you are infinite. Because unless the seed, I guess, believes that he is infinite, maybe he cannot become a tree. I don't know. But that aspiration needs to be there, probably. So the last passage. Last para. But too bright were our heavens, too far away, too frail the ethereal stuff, too splendid and sudden. Our light could not stay, the roots were not deep enough. So right now, if I were like, that's why I guess mother says that we have to first prepare the instrument, right? We are not ready. We are not ready yet because the light is too bright. We are too far, it appears that way. So too bright were our heavens too far away. It like right now, it's like I can see the next step, right? I can see the next step because say if the seeds, taking the same example, is told that okay, this is what you have become, maybe he would just collapse, right? That oh my God, what are you saying? So not putting that pressure, but knowing it as a fact that it feels too far. And this their stuff is very frail, right? Like right now, today, if I have to say that, okay, the joy in divinity, I can imagine it, right? But if I say a joy in a hot chocolate fudge, that is very instant, right? It's not frail, it's very material. I can feel it. So then I go towards what I can feel. So that's the issue. And even in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, I don't know which Yoga Sutras were there. I was listening to it some time back where it said that the problem is that we all run after happiness, right? Nobody wants pain, everybody wants happiness. What we do is we want to increase the happiness in our life. All the things that we do, if they bring us happiness, we want to do them more. But he said the problem is that we don't know which thing is causing us pain and which thing is causing us happiness because the people, the relationships, the circumstances, the choices that we feel are making us happy They are not. They could not be, maybe. Have we looked at it? Because we always see what we can see, right? Right there, what is in front of my eye, I see. I never see what will take me where. And he had given the example of, say, a kid eating a candy. He said for the kid, that candy is beautiful. It's like, wow, that, his life depends on that candy, that please just let me have this one. But if, somebody would told him that, your teeth will rot or too much sugar, he'll be like, stop your whatever, let me just have this candy. But when the same child, when he is, say, 20 or 30, if somebody offers them candy, they'll be like, no, no, it's not good for me. So nobody had to then tell him, right, that maturity had come by itself with his age, with his basic insight that this thing is not good for me. Because right now he just won't be able to see that sweet taste. He will be able to see what it will do to me. So that is the maturity that we are all lacking in degrees. Some of us obviously have it in a lot of areas, and yet in a lot of areas it needs to be developed further. And that is why, right, we are trying to gain more knowledge. And so, yeah, I really digressed. So, yeah, just wrapping it up. So, but too bright were our heavens, too far away, too frail the ethereal stuff, too splendid and sudden, our life could not stay. Our light could not stay. The roots were not deep enough, right? I am not rooted deep enough. The light appears too light. The heavens appear too bright. So right now, that's why I have left them, right? Where it says soft, wrap them softly and left them there. Because right now, if I give it to you here, take the supramental consciousness, for example, we cannot accept it, we cannot hold it. And it is even written, right, that they had thought that maybe Sri Aurobindo won't have to leave his body, right? Maybe they would, our consciousness would be ready to receive. But there's a conversation, right, between the mother and him, in which he's telling him that no, it would not happen this time, like not this time, as in right now. They are not ready, he said. So, yeah, so inviting any things that I would have missed, and then we'll go to the renunciation chapter.
For me, this poem is really beautiful because the whole poem is quite beautiful because I don't know where I was reading, but like the avatars. I think in the essays of the Gita, when Sri Aurobindo describes the first chapter, talks about avatarhood and how the descent of avatarhood, and um, there I think I read where he talks about how an avatar sometimes is aware of its avatarhood from the beginning, whereas some avatars grow in understanding. So it's a journey. So, and of course, Sharbin has not talked about it anywhere else, but it is my, reading his work and looking at his life, I feel really grateful because he even took a very deep plunge in forgetfulness, and from that forgetfulness, he grew into avatarhood, which is so painful, so hard. I think mother, about mother, it says that she was always conscious of her avatarhood from the very beginning. She knew the work with which she was given, and all her life was spent in that, from the childhood to the adult life, whether it's occult or anything like that. But I wanted to say that this poem, especially God's Labor, I see it, and this is just my this thing. When when I read it, I felt that this is really Sri Aurobindo maybe penning down his own journey of avatarhood, from the seed that when it came, the whole journey, and how, his own struggles of, of sowing this deep seed of supramental descent into a world which is not fully prepared yet. And we read about the first, like for example, first paragraph, how it talks about between the gold and the blue, like supramental descent, you said, and blue can also represent the blues. Sometimes the color blue is also, depression and sadness, and how we say the blues. And there he's just putting out this aspiration of something so big. And then I think, if I don't remember correctly, but talks about about the conditions of the earth, how struggling it is, and how I think so. If I'm not sure, how struggling it is, and the kind of labor it needs. So this whole poem, I feel, it just, when I read it, I fills my heart with so much gratitude, thinking of how much he has poured into his journey, the leap he took into forgetfulness. And I can just have gratitude, and just, sometimes I feel like really crying and just saying so much thank you to him for, for taking so much deep into forgetfulness, and then, becoming an example of the path that has to be led by all of us. So he's really a guru who has led by example, and I think this poem is really a beautiful exemplification of that. So yeah, thank you for bringing this up.
Thank you, Nandini. You too look wrapped in silver air today with your background. So just you're adding to the poem. Yeah, now it's gone. Your silver air is gone, Nandini. Okay, so let's start with
You
renunciation. So
know,
let's,
I just sorry,
yes,
can I make a comment?
absolutely.
Yeah, the point this, Nandini brought up is very, just touching on that a little bit. At some point, that is a good, uh, just a little passage to read, the possibility and purpose of avatarhood from essays on the Gita. This misconception now, of course, we say, oh, everybody's, so many teachers they regard. And Sri Aurobindo explains so beautifully, what is the purpose? It is to bring down a higher consciousness. And he actually has said also, like, if you look at the Indian tradition of the nine avatars, it is always an ascending consciousness. So he says there, it is very beautiful and it's so powerful what he says. I think he said, just read this one line. If there were not this rising of man into the Godhead, to be helped by the descent of God into humanity, avatarhood for the sake of the dharma would be an otiose phenomenon, since mere right, mere justice, or standards of virtue can always be upheld by the divine omnipotence through its ordinary means, by great men or great movements, by the life and work of sages and kings, and religious teachers without any actual incarnation. The avatar comes as the manifestation of divine nature in the human nature, the apocalypse of its Christhood, Krishnahood, Buddhahood, in order that the human nature may by molding its principle, thought, feeling, action, being on the lines of that Christhood, Krishnahood, Buddhahood, transfigure itself into the divine. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful. You really understand what an avatar actually means. So yes, there have been very great saints and great sages in India, especially. We have a tradition, but there are few points in the evolution where you see there was a marked jump, right? So we worship Lord Ram because we say, he established dharma. And I think Sri Aurobindo has written a lot about that, right? It is the mental, the mind completely developed, right? And then you come to Krishna, and then he says, abandon all dharmas. I mean, he's actually contradicting Ram, right? If you actually think about it, he's saying, abandon all dharmas and take refuge in me. So but then he's taking you to that higher consciousness, right? Which Shubhendu calls like the overmind. And then Shubhendu came, and that is what he is trying to bring down. He's trying to first by his own, and of course, mothers, we know what they did, but then to make it available to the humanity. You know? So I think that's such a beautiful thing because it really, this book is sheds so much light on the Gita that you don't get in translation. I mean, it's just magnificent. And we started the session. Maybe sometime we can actually read from this. I was reading this. It's a book by I think Govind Bhai Patel. He was a disciple. I don't know if you all have heard of him, but he was a disciple of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. And it is an absolutely incredible book. I mean, you see the experiences and he describes, he comes. Has anybody read it? My Pilgrimage to the Spirit. I can send the link.
Yeah, you can send
And
the link. That would be lovely. I have not read it. I don't know it.
oh my God, it is. I've just been reading it the last few days, and I mean, we talk. He's experiencing overmind and everything, and he says he came to the ashram just after the 26th, that I mean November 24th and that 1926, and everybody was having all the gods had descended, and but then we know, of course, that the work had to be done in the physical, right? So I think many times people don't understand, right? I mean, when mother said, she dissolved that whole consciousness, the whole creation, right? That overmind creation, she and like just I mean, talk about renunciation. I mean, you just in like Sharmindu said, no, we don't want this, right? Yes, you will, you'll be very this thing, millions of people following you, but this is not what we want. And then in just a moment, she just dissolves the whole thing. So, but yeah, I will put it. I have to put it on my phone, but I'll put the link. In fact, it's so good. Like, we can even read. So he starts his own journey. He talks about how he came to, he met Sri Ramakrishna and, very, very, very spiritual from birth. But then just sort of the correspondence he had with Shubhendu, his visions of the mother. My God, I was like, and these are sadhaks we have not even heard about. I don't know how many of them are there like this. Maybe people don't mention, right? In their own right, had they gone to, just been by themselves, they would be probably very famous, individuals in their own right. But they came for a different purpose. So, sorry, just digressed a little bit, but yeah, I will post that and maybe we can read parts of that sometime for next week. It's very beautiful. It's more his initial part is just his more a journey on how he came there, and then it's his correspondence with Shivando, which is quite remarkable to say the least. I mean, it's uh, so the way he described his experiences, I was just like blown away, and Shivando was explaining everything to him. Very, very amazing. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. We could all feel your joy when reading the book. Okay, so we have around 15 minutes left, so we'll at least begin. So I was thinking, I don't know, to take the main parts or take the complete chapter, but I don't know. I don't feel we are in any rush. So we can take the whole chapter of renunciation. It's not that big anyways. That would give us the basic ground also that would be needed. So this is the synthesis of yoga, of course, by Sri Aurobindo. And this is chapter 5 on renunciation. If anybody has the capacity, if they would like to read the first paragraph, we don't have to go through each and every line, but the important parts we'll highlight. So I'll just make it a bit bigger.
I can read if it's
Great.
okay.
Yeah.
Want me
If
to read?
oh yeah,
Yeah, Nandini,
if
you.
discipline, if discipline of all the members of our being by purification and concentration may be described as the right arm of the body of yoga, renunciation is its left arm. By discipline or positive practice, we confirm in ourselves the truth of things, truth of being, truth of knowledge, truth of love, truth of works, and replace with these the falsehoods that have overgrown and perverted our nature. By renunciation, we seize upon the falsehoods, pluck up their roots, and cast them out of our way so that they shall no longer hamper by their persistence, their resistance, or their recurrence the happy and harmonious growth of a divine living. Renunciation is an indispensable instrument of our perfection.
Yeah, I don't know if this needs elaboration, but before the chapter of renunciation, there is this chapter of purity and concentration. So here, I think he's just talking about what purification and concentration would do, and contrary to that, like not contrary, but this is what renunciation does. By renunciation, we seize upon the falsehoods, pluck up their roots, and cast them out of our way so that they no longer hamper. We do know the persistence of the lower movement, right? Their resistances, their persistence, their reoccurrence. So that's what he said we should be able to pluck by renunciation. Yeah, Nandini, would you like to take up more?
How far shall this renunciation go? What shall be its nature? And in what way shall it be applied? There is an established tradition long favored by religious teachings and by men of profound spiritual experience that renunciation must not only be complete as a discipline, but definite and final as an end, and that it shall fall nothing short of the renunciation of life itself and of our mundane existence. Many causes have contributed to the growth of this pure, lofty, and august tradition. There is first the profounder cause of the radical opposition between the sullied and the imperfect nature of life in the world as it now is in the present stage of our human evolution, and the nature of spiritual living. And this opposition has led to the entire rejection of world existence as a lie, an insanity of the soul, a troubled and unhappy dream, or at best a flawed, specious, and almost worthless good, or to its characterization as a kingdom of the world, the flesh, and the devil, and therefore for the divinely led and divinely attracted soul, only a place of ordeal and preparation, or at best a play of all existence, a game of cross purposes which he tries off and abandons.
Yeah, thank you. So just very briefly, so talking about renunciation, Sri Aurobindo is, asking us what shall, not asking us, but just making us wonder or reflect that what shall be its nature and where should it be applied, right? So firstly, if we have to see something, first we have to see what is my current understanding of it and how, if it's right or wrong, or if it needs to be extended. So there he begins that so basically people feel that, renunciation is of life itself and of its mundane existence. And many causes have contributed to this belief, right? That, especially in India, how people renounce, right, their lives and they go and they become sadhus and so many saints, and there are so many of them. So he's saying that there's a reason why that had become popular. So what is the reason? So the first one, he says that there is the profounder cause of radical opposition. Where I feel I am right now as a human and what I can sense as my potential. There is so much difference between the two, right? Like just recalling Sri Aurobindo's poem that we had just read, like marrying the soil and the sky. So right now I feel I am the soil and I feel the pain as the soil. And I know my potential is the sky. So what is the easiest thing? I just reject that I am soil and I just identify with the sky. And that is what a lot of yogas had done before integral yoga. So this is the first radical opposition, not radical opposition, the first reason why this had become popular. So the radical opposition between the solid and imperfect nature of life in the world, right now, what we are living, and the nature of spiritual living. I can feel there has to be more than this. It's too senseless, it's too painful. Imagine that child that Juan had mentioned in the beginning, that how he himself is the question that what is happening? What do I do now? And how he had mentioned, when his net was not very clear, but that how he felt so pure and free as a spirit. And then how suddenly he felt so constricted. There's somewhere I read that, how a soul, when he gets into a body, it's as if an elephant is placed in a matchbox. So that's what the soul feels when it gets into a body. So imagine the pain. So this radical opposition between where I am and where I feel or sense I should be is the main cause of why people just reject the whole thing. And this opposition has led to the entire rejection of the world existence as a lie. That the whole thing is a lie, unhappy dream, flawed, speculaous, worthless good, or its characterization to the kingdom of flesh and devil, and therefore for the divinely led and divinely attracted soul. So there is this soil and there is this sky. The soil is bad, it's flesh and devil. The sky is beautiful, it's just, free and expanded. So let's shun that and let's just run for that. So that is the approach that the earlier on that we would take, and that's what is believed to be renunciation. So, and therefore, for the divinely led and divinely attracted soul, only a place of ordeal and preparation, or at best a play of the all existence, a game of cross purposes which he tires of and abandons. It's a big passage, but I'm assuming a simple one. If there's any comments, we can stop here. Otherwise, we can move ahead to the second call and finish this today. Okay, I'm assuming there's nothing. So a second cause is the soul's hunger for personal salvation. So earlier on, it was just general, right? That this is bad, this is good. And now we come to the personal salvation, that what about me? Where do I go? What do I do? So for escape into some farther or farthest height of unalloyed bliss and peace, untroubled by the labor and the struggle, or else it is its unwillingness to return from the ecstasy of the divine embrace into the lower field of work and service. So when I go there, I just want to stay there. I don't want to come down. And the integral yoga, which we read in some time, is all about bringing it down, right? So that the sky and the soil can be married. But because I feel that there's too much labor and struggle, that's the second one, my personal reason. Moving on. But there are other slighter causes. So first two he has given, and now the slighter causes incidental to spiritual experience, strong feeling and practical proof of the great difficulty which we willingly exaggerate into an impossibility of combining the life of works and action with spiritual peace. So as in it feels that this is impossible, that how can I be laboring here and doing this and working for my bread and butter, and here I'm being told that simultaneously maintain that connection. So it just feels impossible to combine the life of works and action of spiritual peace. and the life of realization, or else the joy which the mind comes to take in the mere act and state of renunciation, as it comes indeed to take joy in anything that it has attained or to which it has inured itself, and the sense of peace and deliverance which is gained by indifference to the world and to the objects of man's desire. So basically, it's easier for me to say that I don't want to look at it. I don't want to clean it. Say you have a room in the house where you always dump everything, right? Always, like always, always, always. And now it's so full of dump and it could be smelling or all. But as long as the door is closed, I can tell myself, it doesn't even exist for me. See, look at my house. It's so beautiful here. So it's something like this, right? And it's not possible for me to reject it because it is there. But I can fool myself by saying that, let me not look at it, and if I, how say, they talk about that bird dodo, right, which was considered to be the dumbest bird, which is now extinct. That anytime something would come, like if anybody's trying to kill the bird or throw something at him, it will just close its eyes and think that, oh, since I can't see them, they can't see me. So, something like this. So we have to be better than the dodo. Or I don't know how we know so much about the dodo, though, that what was it thinking. So, but that's what I've heard. So just the last thing to wrap it up, lowest causes of all are the weaknesses that shrinks from the struggle, right? The weaknesses that shrinks from the struggle, right? This is what we are seeing. It's too hard. Let me just say doesn't exist. And if you have ever interacted or spoken to a lot of, people who have actually given up their grahest life and all, I've interacted with some in Vrindavan ashrams and all. Mostly it was like, it was too much. It just felt easier to step out, to move on, to disengage. So this is the lowest cause, the weakness that shrinks from the struggle, the disgust and disappointment of the soul, baffled by the great cosmic labor, the selfishness that cares not what becomes of those left behind us, so long as we personally can be free from the monstrous, ever circling wheel of death and birth, the indifference to the cry that rises up from a laboring humanity. So Sri Aurobindo here is saying that only those who can be indifferent to everybody else and just care about their own personal salvation can take up the path of renunciation as traditionally it has been understood. It's difficult, just let it be, leave it, move on, right? We have better things to do. And in Jet Sunbala, I had recently done a transcript, and Jet Sunbala had mentioned that, say you actually were as a family in a swamp. You were caught in a swamp, and you, by your struggle, your hard work, your intelligence, were able to pull yourself out. And say your child or your anybody who you care about are still in the swamp. Is there even a slightest possibility that you will be able to walk away saying very nicely that, see, I worked hard, I pulled myself out, it was all my effort, my grace. Now I'm sure and I hope and I pray that you too find that strength to come out and you walk away. That's an impossibility, right? We will go and find something, a rope, a tree, a branch, we'll try to pull them out, right? Like, of course, because that's my family, that's my child, that's whatever. So the same way one feels about the whole humanity as, the consciousness expands and we feel that oneness. And then if we have touched that space, we won't be able to say that it's tough. Let me move away, right? Let me, apni, I don't know what that thing is. You take care of yourself and everybody else will be taken care of. That is true to some extent, but yet that is not a holistic, integral view towards life. So I don't know if it was too fast, but this is where we'll end today, trying to keep the session in, for not more than an hour so that we can actually retain what we have read. So next time too, again, I would request us to bring any sharings, anything, and we'll take that first, and in the second half, we'll read from the chapter of renunciation. We have 2 minutes. I don't know if there's any short comment. Otherwise, we'll call it a session. I'll take that as a no. So thank you for joining in. Thank you for being present. Hoping that this changes something in us. Praying, aspiring that I am able to learn, retain, and practice what I'm learning, what I'm seeing, what I'm understanding. So thanking grace, thanking the divine for this beauty, for these guidelines, for these pearls of wisdom that are so easily thrown around me. It's just up to me to pick them up and begin my journey. Thank you. We'll end the session here.
Thank you, Taru.